Hey, how you guys doing? In this video, I just want to touch on, well, the topic that we as a people don't take care of our esteemed elders. And to those of you young ones who are aspiring to be lecturers and so forth, and scholars and so forth, I just want you to get a full picture of what that lifestyle actually entails. Because if you believe you can go out there and have a grand life, and when you get older, people are gonna love you and take care of you, that's not the case. Many, and I mean many of our scholars, at the end of their lives, didn't have anything. They were dirt broke. Many of them, we had to actually raise money to actually bury them, and that's a sad, sad, sad state. So I'm just giving you the full picture. Don't become delusional, because I know right now you're young and you're strong and so forth, but you're not thinking about your old age. Like I said, we as a people, we have a really bad track record of taking care of our people who actually devoted their lives to bring us this information. And they didn't have to do it. Many of them didn't have to do it. Now, I'll talk about that later on in the video, but I just want to give you a full understanding of what that life is about. So without further ado, I'll let Dr. Clark have the floor. Thanks, and you guys take it easy.
We don't have his grandmothers anymore. We got rid of them. If they're not dead, they're in nursing homes. We don't have time for them. We don't have no place in our apartments for them. Apartments too static in the first place. I'm saying that what we have to do is to focus our education on getting back what slavery and colonialism took away. That is the attitude of ruling a nation. All right. All of it. No people can rise from a lower to a higher position until they're willing to accept some form of collective discipline. Somebody among you must be wise enough, study hard enough to figure out the direction. And you must respect the person well enough when that person says, this is the way we go. Realize that person has devoted some time in figuring it out. And you don't have to follow until it proves that that's not the way to go. Leadership must be a sacred mission, and not just something someone pop up and do and proclaim. And we must begin to train young men from birth to be a leader. Whether he ever leads anything other than himself is not the issue. He has the training to be that. And he's a better human being by virtue of having that training, even if he only leads himself. He learns how to lead his family with honor and with some kind of dignity. We have to begin to study. We have to do less proclaiming and more investigating. All right. We have to investigate people who devote their lives to us. Because our track record in supporting people who devote their lives to us is not good. All right. J. Rogers, right, he devoted most of his life, 50 years of his life, looking at the African personality and its impact on the history of the world, and preserved for us the information. He died $16,000 in debt. William Leo Hansberry taught 37 years at Howard University, the greatest Africanist we've yet to produce in the Western world. He never got a salary at Howard above $15,000 a year. Now we've got black conservatives who make $15,000 a lecture. All right. More than a Hansberry made in a year. All right. Cyphers, brilliant man from Antigua, wrote a work on who are the Ethiopians, another work on the African contribution to the concept of the brotherhood of man. Several books, none of them published. He died. His wife is dead. His adopted son, not too clear what to do with his manuscripts. Fortunately, I have copies of most of them in my home, but I don't have the right to publish them because you can't talk to the son about it. Hansberg did a 4-volume history of Africa before he died. I'm working on that. We have to be introduced to the finest minds we've got. Let them function. Let them operate. Chancellor Williams died of Old Thomas at a charity hospital, city hospital in Washington. Chancellor Williams took good care of himself, saved money, invested in real estate. And the income, the yearly income from his property was over $20,000 a year. Why did he die broke? Someone had the power of attorney and signed out his money and spent it, most of his family. Some hustler in Washington took up $27,000 for our revolutionary elders, put it in his pocket, and it's still in his pocket, and Chandler's dead in his grave. Had to take up a collection to bury John Jackson. Well, don't worry about me.
All right.
I've got that taken care of.
All right.
I'm not rich, I'm not poor, and I'm not begging either. I never thought I'd stay on any job long enough to get a pension. The pension system of the City University, City Department of Higher Education collapsed. I get a little pension. Till they eliminate the Social Security card, I get a little from that. My old beat-up brownstone house is paid for.
All right.
And I got 2 self-supporting children.
All right.
They don't need me. Indecent insurance. In the final analysis, what am I saying? I'm saying that there was a time in our life when people who made a profession out of thinking and planning and finding a better way for you didn't have to worry about that creature comfort because you took care of that. You didn't have to worry about their travel because you took care of that. But when you wanted something thought out or planned, you could go to them and get it done. Because their profession was to think things out and chart a clear course for us. We've lost the old people in the neighborhood. We do not keep their minds alive. We never heard of anything called old timers. Alzheimer's, if I'm pronouncing it right. We never heard of it. People kept their mind good, in good shape, and they were articulate till the end of their lives and contributing. Going to church and arguing with the ministers and the deacons and doing all the things that the old people do. They had that family connection. Our journey toward nationhood will have to begin when we take education seriously.
All right.
There is no proper education except an education for liberation.
All right.
You are not to be educated to fit into other people's schemes. You are to create a scheme that's protective of your own aspirations, your hopes, and your desires, and that connects you with what you used to be so you can understand what you are and estimate what you still have to be. So the role of education. The role of education in history is the same as the relationship of a mother to a child. You dare not live without it. You cannot be born without it. You cannot thrive without it. We have to stop looking at ourselves in isolated pockets. I think the mission of the Africans away from home, because they've been closer to information and basic technology and basic science than any other Africans in the world. The mission of these Africans is to deliver Africa and secure Africa for all African people.
Like I said before, I'm not trying to discourage anyone from doing what they want to do. I'm just painting a full picture so you understand what you're getting into and what that life might actually be like when you get older, because a lot of times we don't think about it. It just saddens me when I think about a man like John Jackson. They had to collect money to bury their brother. After all the works and all the time it took for his brother to actually bring this information to the African people, how was he repaid? He was repaid by living out his last years in a nursing home, waiting for his number to be called. When you look at John Jackson, you can see that he could have easily passed the brown paper bag test and had a much better life if he chose to. And I remember in a lecture with Runoko Rashidi, because Runoko Rashidi and him was pretty close. If I could have found the lecture, I would have put it in the description box, but I can't find it. Where he told Runoko Rashidi that if he could have do it all over again, he would have. And I couldn't blame him. Because imagine, you devoted so much time and energy to be at the end of your life in a nursing home, surrounded by people you don't know, you don't trust, you don't love, wondering, one of all the people I went out there and helped, nobody visits me, or very, very few. I don't have any money. I have mountain bills, because like Professor Dr. Clark said, that they actually raise money to bury John Jackson. And that's a damn shame. That, that can bring on a state of depression. And he wasn't the only one that went out that way. Dr. Ben the same way in the nursing home, waiting for his number to get called. Steve Coakley, he was in the hospital. He went on. And I even found out that they actually had to raise money to bury Brother Dr. Khalid Muhammad. That's right. They actually had to raise money to bury him. Found out from doing some research that Dr. Clark, he died broke too. Well, we know Dr. Ben didn't have much money when he went on. We know Steve Coakley didn't have much money. He wasn't a doctor, but George Simmons from St. Croix, he didn't have much money when he went through the door. And the list can go on and on of many brothers who died broke and sisters who died broke. They lived for the people, but the people didn't live for them. To me, it's like the people came out there to be entertained. And after the entertainment was done, they went home. And with time, a lot of these great people became forgotten. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at all the old cats you see on the scene. There were once young cats on the scene. Remember that. But anyway, I'll let Dr. Well, I'm going to call him a doctor because he sure is a great teacher. So I'm going to let Dr. John Jackson say a couple of words. And what he's going to say is very, very important in regards to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing.
The message I tried to pass on to my students is that no matter how hopeless the situation is, we're going to continue to struggle. You might lose, but if you don't struggle, you're certainly not going to win. So that's the only thing to do. And in the Union, I found out how it was that people won. To show you how this Union worked. There was an Orthodox Jew who owned a big company in New York. And the Union couldn't come to an agreement with him. They put picket lines around his plant. And he hired a bunch of gangsters to intimidate the Union. One of the gangsters grabbed one of our members as he was going to join the picket line and stuck a knife in his back. The knife went right through his back into his heart and killed him almost instantly. The Union president called a meeting of the members, and he said, we don't know what hand wielded the knife that killed our brother, but we do know the man that hired the man that wielded the knife. He has killed one of our brothers. We are going to kill him. They got up, and one of the Union members said, Mr. President, how are we going to do it? It's you go out and kill a man and you get convicted for murder. He says, we're going to kill him so that nobody can convict us. So they said, well, how do we do it? They says, well, Mr. So-and-so, who hired the murderer that killed our brother, he is a member of a certain synagogue here. He says that when the synagogue services come along on the Jewish Sabbath, we're going to picket pickets in front of the place and says, Rabbi, you have a murderer in your temple. Well, the rabbi comes out and finds that his temple is being picketed. And he asked them, who is the murderer? They told him. The man sitting in his congregation, he says, don't come back into this thing and settle it. He says, I don't want a murderer in my congregation and picket lines around my synagogue. So he couldn't come to his synagogue anymore. So he went up to upstate New York and hired a cottage by a lake. The Union went up there, rented boats, crossed the lake, and picketed this college. You have murdered one of our brothers, and you will pay for it. So that depressed him so until he moved back to New York City and got himself a fine home. And then the Union set up a committee to telephone him all through the night hours of all the hours of the night, so that this guy, after he moved into his New York home, the telephone rang all night long and he never got any sleep. Well, you know what happens if you put for a long period of time if you don't sleep. Here was a young man, not quite 29 years old, and we harassed him so until he dropped dead of a heart attack. We killed him, and yet the law couldn't touch us.
Now, why was this important? It's important because many of us don't understand the effects of sleep deprivation on the human body. What's the first thing you see in the top left-hand side? Accidental death, heart attack, or stroke. So Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was dealing with this situation where she was living at. She was, according to her letter, she was living there for 40 years. It's been peaceful for 40 years until this school wanted to come in there and actually, this particular organization wanted to go in there and buy up all the properties around her. You see that movie called Up, where the old guy was there and he didn't want to leave his house, and they had the little guy, I think his name was Russell, and the old guy refused to leave his house, and they have gentrification on both sides of him. Big houses and big buildings on both sides. Well, that was Frances Cress Welsing. She said in her letter on the Nation of Islam website, which I'm going to have in the description box, she was the only property that this school didn't own. The only property. So She was a lone standout. I'm going to read some of this letter here. I'm going to jump back and forth. You can read it at your own discretion. Like I said before, the link is in the description box. But she goes on to say, I notified this school beginning in 2010 when the playground opened that it was negatively impacting my health. So she told them, look, man, this is too loud. It's impacting my health. I can't have that. She's up in age. She's in advanced age. She said, at one point I got a letter back from them essentially saying, too bad. We're sorry you're sick, but we are in compliance. Now, isn't that some kind of... Anyway, I'll go on to read it. But she goes on to say that they were not in compliance because initially they were supposed to leave 15 feet from the property line. But there were 40-foot tall trees that they were supposed to leave as part of the noise buffer, but they below those trees. You see, they know what they was doing. You see, she said the conditions are so bad in her house, it's so loud. She can't use the porch. She can't go outside. She can't open the windows. She have headaches on a consistent basis. You see, at the time she wrote this letter, she was 78 years old. So you can imagine a 78-year-old person have to deal with this type of noise pollution. You can't even come. Your home's supposed to be your castle, at least that's what they say. And you can't even come home and relax because it's so damn noisy. Kids out there playing, having a good time, which I don't have anything wrong with that per se, but if it's close to somebody's house and they're already letting you know that, hey man, this is affecting my health. She goes on to say, it's extremely noisy. I have to leave my home to get away from the noise, and I have a headache every time the noise starts. And it's on a daily basis. I cannot open my windows. I cannot open the door. I cannot use the outside of my home. I cannot use my porch. And even if everything is closed, the noise is inside of my home. Now, that's gentrification. Like I said, a lot of us don't really understand the effects of gentrification, but it goes deeper than that, though. It reminds me of a song from Bob Marley, Redemption song, when he says, how long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? This is another one of our prophets where we couldn't do anything to help. I mean, there was a campaign on the internet saying Dr. Francis Cress Welsing should not be moved, but we didn't understand the effects of sleep deprivation on the human body. We didn't understand that. I'm not blaming us. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming us. I'm just saying there's another elder we couldn't protect. It's like we always late to figure stuff out. That she lived there for 40 years in peace, no problem, but because this developer wanted her property and she didn't want to move, they resorted to this type of tactic where they got her after the house. I mean, she passed on. So anyway, I just wanted to show you the letter, and you can do your research and to show you some of the stuff in the sleep deprivation on the human body. And again, like I said, if you want to say you're going to help the people out and do what you're going to do, that's great. Just like I say, just know what you're getting into. Because a lot of people who were once young and full of energy like yourself thought the same thing, that the people were going to look out for them. And it didn't work in their favor. And a price will be paid. And in most cases, who pays the price is going to be the scholar. So it's going to be you who pays the price. Anyway, man, thanks for watching. You guys take it easy. Until next time, I'm out.